Hi everyone, this video is a Colorado trip I made in July of 2024 with my brother Guy and his wife Dale. I think this video will be of interest primarily to family and friends, but also for anyone who likes beautiful mountain views. Each year since 2017, Guy and Dale have flown into Colorado on what is essentially a pilgrimage to hike 14ers. 14ers are mountains that are at least 14,000 feet in elevation. I normally don't go on their 14er trips, but this year was special. They decided to go back to the San Juan Mountains, which is a place special to my heart. The San Juan Mountains are special because of the opportunities to not only hike, but to also explore off-road. Off-road exploration in the San Juans involves the Alpine Loop, which is pretty famous in the off-road community. Just like Hell's Revenge in Moab, Utah, the Alpine Loop in Colorado is a bucket list trail for off-roaders. Nowhere else in the country can you explore old mining roads that reach the elevations on the Alpine Loop. For example, we drive over California Pass, which is almost 13,000 feet high. So this video is about the 5 14ers that Guy and Dale summited, as well as the off-road adventures I did while they were hiking. All week long, the views were spectacular and the weather was perfect. So let's get started. On Monday, Guy and Dale flew into Grand Junction and we drove down to Lake City, where we stayed for 6 days in a rustic cabin. Tuesday was the first hiking day and Guy and Dale decided to start easy, so it was Handy's Peak. Wednesday was Uncompahgre Peak. Thursday was originally scheduled to be San Luis Peak, but they made a last-minute change to Red Cloud and Sunshine Peaks. Friday was San Luis Peak, and on Saturday, we drove the Alpine Loop from Lake City to Ouray over 4 high mountain passes. The 4 high mountain passes were Engineer Pass at 12,800 feet, California Pass at 12,960 feet, Hurricane Pass at 12,730 feet, and Corkscrew Pass at 12,400 feet. Let's now go back to Monday when Guy and Dale flew into Grand Junction. You can see the route in yellow all the way to Lake City. The Grand Junction Regional Airport is the largest in western Colorado and the 3rd largest in the state. Grand Junction has a population of over 66,000 and is about 250 miles west of Denver along I-70. After we leave Grand Junction, we drive southeast through the farming towns of Delta and Montrose before turning east into the mountains. On the way, we drive by Blue Mesa Reservoir, which I think is one of the most beautiful reservoirs in the state of Colorado. Lake City is a town of about 500 permanent residents, named after Lake San Cristobal. Not sure if I pronounced that right, but I've got some great footage of the lake later in this video. Now that we're in Lake City, let's take a look around. Lake City was incorporated in 1873 and served as a supply center for the miners flooding into the area, and the town grew to as much as 5,000. But the mineral deposits were found to be only moderately productive, and by 1879, the boom had subsided. By 1905, the mining era was over, and Lake City entered a decades-long economic decline. During this time, the population hovered around 1,000, but then dropped to 400 after 1910. Beginning in 1915, visitors began coming to Lake City for vacation, and by the 1930s, tourism had emerged as a viable industry. Today, Lake City's population grows dramatically during the summer months when people flock to the area to camp, fish, hike, and off-road. Now let's take a tour inside the cabin. The cabin was built in 1946 and is 700 square feet. It has 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and a kitchen. Here is the living room with a stone fireplace and the chairs and couch where Guy would sit with his laptop in the afternoons to check up on work. I really like this model of a sailing ship. Here is the kitchen with an antique wood-burning stove where Guy and Dale stored their truly incredible selection of energy bars for hiking. Here is the antique but functional fridge. We bought all of our food in Grand Junction for the 6 days, and thankfully the fridge was big enough to hold it all.
Did you want me to narrate that, Tim?
Oh, if you want to. Here's Guy and Dale's room. They each slept on separate twin beds and had no complaints about the comfort. And here's the bathroom with a very noticeable slope in the floor, and you had to really hunch over to fit under the shower head. Here is my room with a queen-size bed, and it was comfortable. True to its verbo description, it was a very rustic cabin, but it served our needs perfectly.
This will make a great lunch.
This is part one of a 6-part series detailing our adventures in the San Juan Mountains of Colorado. Stay tuned for part 2, which is Handy's Peak.